The Millionaire'S quadruplets cried non-stop, until the maid did something shocking. Michael Thompson could no longer focus on anything. For 3 days, his 4 young children had been crying non-stop, turning his luxurious mansion in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles, into complete chaos. Renowned pediatricians from the city had examined the quadruplets and found no explanation for their constant distress. That's when Dorothy Wilson, the new housekeeper, who had started working there just a month earlier, did something that left everyone speechless. Without asking for permission, she approached the 4 screaming children in their cribs, picked them all up at once, and began singing a soft melody in a dialect no one recognized. Instantly, little Ethan, Noah, Emma, and Olivia calmed down completely. The businessman stood frozen in the hallway, watching the scene. That song was exactly the same one his late wife, Jennifer, used to hum during her pregnancy. A song she claimed to have learned mysteriously, in her dreams, and whose origin she had never shared with anyone. Dorothy gently swayed the 4 little ones in her arms, her melodious voice echoing through the nursery, decorated with blue and white cloud motifs. The children, who moments earlier had seemed inconsolable, now slept peacefully nestled against the chest of the dark-skinned woman with graying curly hair. The housekeeper, Mrs. Williams, a stern 60-year-old woman who had worked for the family for decades, appeared at the nursery door with an indignant expression. "Dorothy, what are you doing? You don't have permission to touch Mr. Michael's children," she said, trying to keep her voice low so as not to wake the little ones. Michael raised his hand, preventing any sudden movement. "Wait, Mrs. Williams, they're sleeping for the first time in 3 days." "But sir, she can't just—" "Let her be," Michael interrupted, his gaze fixed on Dorothy. "How did you know that song would work?" Dorothy lowered her eyes, hesitant. She was a woman of about 45, her features marked by life but carrying a natural sweetness in her gaze. "I'm sorry, Mr. Michael. They seem to need affection. And this song always calms children." "Where did you learn it?" "My grandmother used to sing it to me when I was little. It's a very old lullaby." Michael wasn't entirely convinced by her answer, but the children remained peacefully asleep in Dorothy's arms. In the previous 3 days, neither he nor Mrs. Williams, nor the 2 specialized nannies he had hired, had managed to get the quadruplets to stop crying for more than a few minutes. Jennifer had passed away 6 months ago, a victim of postpartum complications no one could prevent. Since then, Michael had tried to balance running his tech companies with caring for the 4 babies. The process had been exhausting, but in recent months things seemed to be stabilizing. Until 3 days ago, when the little ones began showing inexplicable distress. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He watched through the nursery monitor. Dorothy had asked to stay up caring for them overnight, and he had agreed, despite Mrs. Williams' objections. At 2 in the morning, he decided to check on them in person. He descended the marble staircase of the mansion and quietly walked down the hallway leading to the nursery. The door was slightly ajar, and he could hear Dorothy whispering, "I know you miss your mommy." "I miss special people who are no longer here too," she murmured, adjusting the children's blankets. "But your dad is a good man. He loves you very much, even when he seems lost." Michael felt a tightness in his chest. How could this woman, who barely knew the family, speak so naturally about the situation? "Ethan, you're the most energetic, aren't you? Just like your dad when he gets nervous. Noah, you're quiet, but you notice everything. Emma and Olivia, you 2 are far too clever for your age." The businessman was struck by the accuracy of her observations. Dorothy truly seemed to understand each child's personality, even though she had only started working in the house recently. "Your mom asked me to take good care of you. I know you don't understand now, but one day you'll realize that true love never ends. It just changes form." Michael nearly knocked over a vase in the hallway. What did she mean? Jennifer had asked Dorothy to look after the kids. That was impossible. He'd hired her through a staffing agency, and she'd only begun working there a month ago. Jennifer had passed away 6 months earlier. Dorothy stopped speaking and glanced toward the door. Michael quickly stepped back, but he was sure she'd noticed him. The next morning, he decided to confront her. He waited until Mrs. Williams left for errands and the other staff were busy with household chores. "Dorothy, I need to talk to you." She was organizing the children's clothes in the laundry room, her movements always careful and precise. "Of course, Mr. Michael. Last night, I heard you talking to the kids. You said my wife asked you to take care of them." Dorothy stopped folding the little shirts and looked straight at him. "You were listening to me?" "That doesn't matter now. I want to know what you meant by that." Maybe I didn't phrase it right. Sometimes I say silly things when I'm looking after children. Dorothy, I need the truth. How did you know my wife?" The woman took a deep breath and sat in a nearby chair. "All right, Mr. Michael. I worked at St. Mary's Medical Center for a few years, in the maternity ward. That's where I met Mrs. Jennifer during her pregnancy." Michael felt the world spin. Jennifer had been hospitalized multiple times during her high-risk pregnancy with the quadruplets, always at St. Mary's. But why had she never mentioned Dorothy? "What was your role at the hospital?" "I was a nursing assistant. I helped mothers with complications." "Then why leave to work as a housekeeper?" Dorothy looked down again. "Some things happened in my personal life. I preferred to change fields." Michael sensed she was hiding something important but chose not to press further. The children were well cared for, and that was what mattered most to him at the moment. In the days that followed, an odd routine settled in the mansion. The quadruplets only slept peacefully when Dorothy sang to them. During the day, she handled household tasks as usual, but whenever the children grew restless, her mere presence calmed them instantly. Mrs. Williams didn't hide her frustration. "Mr. Michael, this isn't right. The children are becoming unhealthily dependent on this woman." "Dependent? They're well cared for and happy for the first time in months." "But don't you find it strange? A housekeeper who appears out of nowhere and can soothe the children in a way even their own father can't." Michael had to admit the situation was unusual, but he was desperate for peace in his home. Since Jennifer's departure, he had tried every possible approach with medical and psychological help to establish a healthy routine for the children. One afternoon, while working in his office, he received a call that would change everything. "Michael, it's Rebecca." Rebecca was Jennifer's sister, a successful lawyer who lived in New York. Since her sister-in-law's passing, she had been calling regularly to check on her nephews and niece. "Hi, Rebecca. How are you? I need to talk to you about the kids. I'm worried." "Worried about what?" "A friend of mine who lives in Los Angeles mentioned that you hired a strange nanny who behaves very intimately with the quadruplets." Michael felt uneasy. How were people already talking about Dorothy? "Rebecca, you don't know the situation. The children are well taken care of." "Michael, I knew Jennifer better than anyone. She was very careful about who she trusted with the kids. I'm sure she wouldn't approve of a stranger having so much influence over them." "Dorothy isn't a stranger. She worked at the hospital where Jennifer was treated." "That doesn't mean anything." "Michael, I'm coming to Los Angeles this weekend. I need to see my nephews and niece." After hanging up, Michael grew thoughtful. Maybe Rebecca had a reason to be concerned. He really knew very little about Dorothy's past. That night, he decided to dig deeper. He called the agency that had recommended the nanny and asked for additional details about her professional background. "Mr. Michael, Dorothy Wilson has excellent references. She worked for 5 years at St. Mary's Medical Center and then in a few private homes." "Why did she leave the hospital?" "According to what she told us, it was for personal reasons, but I can look into more details if you'd like." "Yes, please. I need all the information available." The next day, the agency called back with details that left Michael even more confused. "Mr. Michael, there's an inconsistency in Dorothy's records. She said she worked at the hospital until 2 years ago, but the records show she was let go 3 years ago." "Let go? Why?" "That isn't clear in the documentation we have. We'd need to contact the hospital directly." Michael decided to investigate this himself. The following day, he went to St. Mary's Medical Center and asked to speak with the head of the maternity department. Dr. Richard Barnes was a middle-aged man who had known Michael since the quadruplets were born. "Michael, good to see you." How are the children? They're fine, thank you. Dr. Richard, I need information about a former employee here, Dorothy Wilson. The doctor visibly tensed. Dorothy? Yes, I remember her. Why do you ask? She's working at my house now, taking care of my kids, but there are inconsistencies in her professional history. Dr. Richard sighed. Michael, Dorothy was an excellent professional, very dedicated, especially with high-risk pregnancies, but she went through a very difficult personal situation. What kind of situation? She lost twin children in an accident. After that, she was deeply shaken emotionally. She started becoming overly involved with the babies at the hospital, as if trying to compensate for her loss. We had to let her go, as painful as it was. A chill ran down Michael's spine. Dorothy had lost children and was now caring for his with a dedication that bordered on obsession. Dr. Richard, did she have contact with my wife during her hospital stays? Yes, several times. Jennifer always praised the special affection Dorothy showed her. But Michael, you need to understand that Dorothy was still working here when Jennifer was admitted. She was only let go a few months later. A few months after what? After the birth of her children. Michael left the hospital with his mind racing. Dorothy had lied about when she left the hospital, and she had omitted the fact that she had lost children of her own. But why had Jennifer never mentioned her? When he got home, he found a scene that both comforted and worried him at the same time. Dorothy was in the garden with the 4 little ones who were playing happily on the grass. She had brought some toys and was singing while Ethan tried to take his first wobbly steps. "Daddy!" Emma shouted, running toward Michael with her little arms outstretched. He picked her up and felt his heart tighten. It had been weeks since he'd seen the children so happy and carefree. "Dorothy, could you come here for a moment?" She approached, wiping her hands on the simple blouse she was wearing. "Of course, Mr. Thompson. I need you to be completely honest with me. I went to the hospital today." Dorothy's face paled. "And what did you find out?" "That you lost 2 children, and that you were let go for getting too attached to the babies." Dorothy looked at the children who were still playing, oblivious to the adults' serious conversation. "It's true. Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because I knew you wouldn't hire me if you found out, and I needed this job." "Dorothy, do you understand how hard it is for me to trust someone to care for my children when that person isn't honest with me?" Tears began to stream down the woman's face. "Mr. Thompson, I lost my boys 3 years ago. Since then, I've been trying to rebuild my life. When I saw you needed help with the children, I thought it could be a chance to do something good again." "But why did you lie about when you left the hospital?" "Because it was too painful. After I lost my children, I really did start getting too attached to the babies at the hospital. I couldn't help it. Dr. Richard had to let me go, but it was out of kindness, not because I wasn't capable." Michael watched his children, who were now calling for Dorothy's attention. She wiped her tears and went back to interacting with them naturally. "How did your children pass?" "Car accident. They were 2 years old. Twins, just like yours." The businessman felt a wave of compassion. He had lost Jennifer, but he still had his children. Dorothy had lost everything. "And your husband?" He couldn't handle the grief. "We separated 6 months after the accident." At that moment, Michael understood why Dorothy was so devoted to his children. She saw in them a chance to express the maternal love that had been tragically cut short. "Dorothy, I need to think about all this. I'll ask Mrs. Williams to take care of the children tonight. Mr. Thompson, please, I know I made mistakes by withholding information, but my love for your children is real. They help me as much as I help them." "I understand that, but I need to reflect on what's best for all of us." That night, for the first time in weeks, the quadruplets began crying uncontrollably again. Mrs. Williams tried everything, but they simply wouldn't calm down. By 3 in the morning, Michael was exhausted and desperate. "Mrs. Williams, please call Dorothy." "Mr. Thompson, are you sure?" "Call her." Dorothy appeared within minutes, wearing a simple nightgown and her hair disheveled. As soon as she entered the room, she began singing that mysterious melody. Instantly, the 4 little ones settled down. Michael watched the scene once more, but now with different eyes. Dorothy wasn't just an employee taking care of the children. She was a mother who had lost her own and found a new way to love. "Dorothy," he said softly, "you can stay." She looked at him with genuine gratitude. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. But I need to know the whole truth about your relationship with Jennifer. Tomorrow I'll tell you everything, I promise." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The next morning, Rebecca arrived unexpectedly. Michael hadn't expected her to come so early. "Michael, where are my nephews?" "They're having breakfast in the garden with Dorothy." "Is that the troublesome maid you mentioned?" "Rebecca, things are more complicated than you think." They walked to the garden, where they found Dorothy helping the little ones eat cut-up fruit. The children were sitting in colorful little chairs, laughing and chatting in their childish way. "Aunt Becky!" Olivia shouted, stretching out her arms. Rebecca picked up her niece, but her gaze remained suspicious toward Dorothy. "You're the new maid?" "Yes, ma'am, my name is Dorothy. I need to speak with my brother-in-law in private." Michael took Rebecca inside, leaving Dorothy with the children. "Michael, that woman has a strange connection with the kids. Did you see how they reacted when she appeared? It's almost like what? Like she's their mother." "Rebecca, Dorothy lost twin boys 3 years ago. She's found a way to channel her maternal love through our children. That's even more concerning. Michael, she might be using your kids to cope with her own trauma. Or maybe she's exactly what they need, a loving maternal figure." "Jennifer just left. The children barely had time to process that loss, and you're already putting another woman in her place." Michael felt the criticism like a punch to the gut. "I'm not replacing Jennifer. I'm trying to give my children the best care possible." "What if Dorothy develops an unhealthy obsession? What if she tries to turn the kids against you?" At that moment, they heard a noise in the garden. They rushed to the window and saw Ethan on the ground, crying. Dorothy immediately picked him up, checked for injuries, and began soothing him with gentle words. "My love, it was just a scare. Look, there's no boo-boo. Come here, Aunt Dorothy will take care of you." Michael and Rebecca watched the scene. Dorothy's affection was genuine and natural, nothing forced or manipulative in her actions. "Auntie, did you see? Ethan fell, but Dorothy took care of him," Emma said, appearing at the window. "Yes, sweetheart," Rebecca replied, though her tone was less hostile now. During lunch, Rebecca had a chance to observe the dynamic between Dorothy and the children more closely. She noticed the maid never tried to replace Michael as the father figure. Instead, she constantly directed the children to him. "Noah, tell Daddy what you learned today," she'd say when the boy wanted to show something. "Olivia, Daddy's coming. Let's show him the drawing you made." After lunch, while the children rested, Rebecca asked to speak with Dorothy alone. "Dorothy, may I ask you some questions?" "Of course, Mrs. Rebecca." "Did you really meet my sister at the hospital?" "I did. Mrs. Jennifer was a very special woman." "What do you mean by special?" Dorothy looked out the window, as if searching for the right words. She had a genuine concern for the people around her. Even while worried about her own high-risk pregnancy, she always asked about my family, my struggles. "Jennifer was always like that," Rebecca agreed, her tone softening slightly. "She told me she had a sister, a lawyer in New York, who meant the world to her." "She talked about me?" "She did. She said you were the bravest person she knew, and that she wanted her children to grow up with that same courage." Rebecca felt her eyes well up. Those were truly words Jennifer would say. "Dorothy, may I ask why you became so attached to my nieces and nephews?" "Because they need love, and I have so much love to give. When I lost my own children, I thought I could never care for kids again. But when I saw their despair a few weeks ago, something awoke inside me." "Aren't you afraid of getting too attached and then suffering again?" "I am. Every day. But I've learned it's better to love and risk the pain than to never allow myself to love again." That answer struck Rebecca deeply. She herself had shut down emotionally since losing her sister, avoiding getting too close to the children for fear of reliving the pain of loss. "Dorothy, you told Michael yesterday that you would share the whole truth about your relationship with Jennifer. I'd like to hear it too." The housekeeper took a deep breath. "The truth is, Jennifer and I grew very close during her hospital stays. She made me a promise before she passed. What kind of promise? She asked me to take care of her children if anything happened to her. Rebecca was stunned. What do you mean? Jennifer didn't know she was going to die. Yes, she did, Mrs. Rebecca. In her final days, she sensed something was wrong with her health. The doctors weren't clear, but she felt it. And she specifically asked you to care for the children. She said she trusted me because she'd seen how I cared for the other babies at the hospital, and because she knew about my own loss. Rebecca had to sit down. This completely changed her perspective on the situation. Do you have proof of this? I have a letter she wrote me. A letter? She gave it to me 2 days before she passed. Told me only to open it if I truly needed to care for her children. Where is this letter? At home. I can go get it now if you'd like. Rebecca looked at Michael, who had approached when he overheard the conversation. Michael, did you know about any letter? No, Jennifer never mentioned it to me. Dorothy, bring that letter here now. An hour later, Dorothy returned with a yellowed envelope bearing her name in Jennifer's familiar handwriting. Rebecca opened it with trembling hands and began reading aloud. Dear Dorothy, if you're reading this letter, it means my fears came true and I couldn't stay to care for my babies. I want you to know your presence during these difficult months has been a blessing in my life. I saw how you cared for the other mothers and babies with such tenderness, even while carrying your own grief for the loss of your boys. I know you understand a mother's love better than anyone. So if anything happens to me, please take care of my children as if they were your own. Michael is a good man, but he'll need help. And the children will need the special love only a mother can give. The song you always sang to me during my anxiety attacks, the one your grandmother taught you, please teach it to my babies. It'll be a way to keep our connection alive. I know you'll love my children, and they'll love you. Thank you for accepting this request from my heart. With love and gratitude, Jennifer. The silence in the room was heavy. Rebecca finished reading with tears streaming down her face. Dorothy, Michael said, his voice choked. Why didn't you show me this letter sooner? Because I thought you'd believe it was a lie to stay close to the children, and because I wanted you to trust me for my actions, not because of a letter. Rebecca folded the letter carefully. Michael, we need to talk. They stepped away into the office, leaving Dorothy in the garden with the children. Michael, this letter seems genuine. That's Jennifer's handwriting, and she would say exactly those things. I recognized her handwriting too. But Rebecca, does this change anything? It changes everything. It means Jennifer personally chose Dorothy to help care for the children. She saw something special in her. And what do you think we should do? I think Jennifer knew what she was doing. If she trusted Dorothy, maybe we should too. Michael sat in his leather armchair, watching through the window as the children played happily in the garden with Dorothy. Rebecca, can I confess something? Of course. Ever since Jennifer passed, I've felt lost about how to be both father and mother. When I saw Dorothy caring for the children with so much love, I felt an enormous relief. Did you feel guilty about that? Very much, as if I were betraying Jennifer's memory by letting another woman take on a motherly role. Michael, loving your children means giving them what they need, even if it means accepting help from others. Just then, Emma came running over. Daddy, Aunt Becky, come see. Dorothy is teaching us how to plant flowers. They returned to the garden and found Dorothy kneeling in the dirt with the 4 little ones around her, each holding a flower seedling. Look, Daddy, I'm planting a flower for Mommy, said Ethan, his tiny hands covered in dirt. Michael's heart swelled with emotion. Dorothy had found a gentle way to keep Jennifer's memory alive for the children. That's a beautiful idea, Ethan, he said, kneeling beside his son. Dorothy said when the flower grows, Mommy will be able to see it from heaven, Olivia added. Rebecca watched the scene with misty eyes. Dorothy wasn't trying to replace Jennifer. She was honoring her memory while giving the children the love they needed. Dorothy, Rebecca said, may I ask you something? Of course, ma'am. Do you plan to stay long, caring for the children? Dorothy stopped working the soil and looked directly at Rebecca. For as long as Mr. Michael allows and as long as the children need me. And if you remarry, have other children. Mrs. Rebecca, I've learned that love doesn't shrink when it's shared. It multiplies. If I ever rebuild my personal life, it won't change how much I care for these children. Michael was struck by the maturity of her answer. Dorothy, I'd like to make you an offer. What kind of offer, Mr. Michael? How would you feel about moving into the maids' quarters here? That way you could care for the children better, especially during the night. Dorothy looked surprised. Are you sure? I am. And I'd also like to formalize your position, not as a housekeeper, but as the children's specialized caregiver. Michael, Rebecca interjected. May I suggest something? Of course. What if Dorothy were registered as a professional nanny with a proper salary and full employment benefits? That way she'd have stability, and the children would have continuity of care. Dorothy looked at them both, still processing the offer. But this is so generous. I never expected... Dorothy, Michael said, my wife entrusted you with what was most precious to her. The least I can do is repay that trust the right way. That night, after Rebecca returned to her hotel, Michael watched Dorothy put the children to bed. She had developed a special routine. First a warm bath, then a story, and finally the mysterious lullaby that always calmed them completely. Dorothy, may I ask where that song comes from? It's a very old lullaby from my family. My great-grandmother was descended from Africans who came to the United States many generations ago. The song has been passed down from mother to daughter for decades. And how did Jennifer learn it? I used to sing it to her during her anxiety attacks at the hospital. She said the melody reminded her of a very strong feeling of protection. Protection? Yes, as if someone very special was watching over her. Michael grew thoughtful. Jennifer had always been a spiritual person, believing in connections beyond what the eyes could see. Dorothy, do you believe that people who've passed on still watch over us in some way? I do, Mr. Michael. I think true love creates bonds that not even death can break. Do you feel like your children are still with you somehow? Every day, especially when I'm caring for other children. It's as if they give me the strength to keep loving. In that moment, Michael understood that Dorothy wasn't just taking care of his children. She was healing her own wounds through the love she gave them. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. 2 weeks later, the new routine was in place. Dorothy had moved into the maid's room, which Michael had insisted on completely renovating, turning it into a cozy and comfortable space. The children flourished under the new structure. Ethan, always the most energetic, learned to channel his energy into creative activities, Dorothy suggested. Noah, the more observant one, developed an impressive vocabulary from talking with her. Emma and Olivia, the girls, formed a special bond through household tasks, always eager to help Dorothy in the kitchen. Mrs. Williams, initially resistant, eventually accepted the new employee when she realized Dorothy wasn't a threat to her position in the household, but rather complemented the care of the children. Dorothy, Mrs. Williams said one morning, I have to admit, you have a special way with the little ones. Thank you, Mrs. Williams. I learn a lot from you too about keeping the house in order. But tell me something. Don't you feel jealous when the children call Michael Daddy? Why would I? He's their father. My role is different. How so? He's the father, the provider, the protector. I'm the comfort, the affection, the patience in tough moments. We each have our own important role. Mrs. Williams was struck by the clarity of her answer. Were you ever married, Dorothy? I was, for 10 years. What happened? When we lost our children, we each grieved differently. He closed off his heart. I needed to keep loving, we just couldn't understand each other anymore. Don't you ever want to marry again? Maybe one day, but right now, my focus is these children. They need stability. The conversation was interrupted by Michael's arrival. He'd come home earlier than usual. Good afternoon, Dorothy. Where are the kids? In their room, resting after lunch, but I think they might be waking up now. As if they'd heard, the 4 little ones came running into the living room. Daddy, tell us the surprise Dorothy taught us. Michael looked at her curiously. What surprise? We learned how to make cookies, Emma shouted. And Dorothy said we can make them for our friends at school, Olivia added. Michael smiled. Dorothy always found ways to engage the kids in fun, educational activities. "And where are these cookies?" "In the kitchen. Come see." The children pulled Michael by the hand to the kitchen, where they found a tray of star-shaped cookies, still warm. "Dorothy, you taught them how to make these?" "They helped me. It was a way to work on their motor skills and learn about measurements and patience." Michael picked up a cookie and took a bite. "These are delicious." "Daddy, Dorothy said that Mommy also loved to cook," said Ethan. "It's true. Your mother adored making cakes and sweets." "Will Dorothy teach us Mommy's recipes?" Michael looked at Dorothy, who seemed a little embarrassed. "Of course," she said, "if you want to learn." That night, after putting the children to bed, Michael and Dorothy talked in the living room. "Dorothy, how did you know Jennifer's favorite recipes?" "She talked a lot about life at home during her hospital stays. She said she wanted to teach the kids to cook when they were a little older." "And you remember everything she told you?" "I remember a lot. She talked about the dreams she had for the children, the places she wanted to take them, the traditions she wanted to keep in the family." "What kind of traditions?" "For example, she wanted you all to have the habit of eating dinner together every night, talking about how each of your days went." "That's something we're doing now, even though she never mentioned it to me." She also wanted the children to learn about the importance of gratitude, always giving thanks for the good things that happen. Michael was moved, realizing how Jennifer had thought of even the smallest details about raising their children. "Dorothy, would you mind telling me more about what Jennifer had planned?" "Of course not. I think it might help you keep her dreams alive." "Like what?" "She wanted the children to learn at least one musical instrument. She said music helps develop sensitivity." "Do you play any instruments?" "I play the guitar. My father taught me when I was little." "Would you mind teaching the children?" "It would be an honor." Michael realized Jennifer had chosen Dorothy not just for her ability to care for the children, but because she could help him fulfill the dreams they had built together for their family. "Dorothy, can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course." "Are you happy here?" "Very happy, Mr. Michael. These children have given my life meaning again." "And me? How do you see me as a father?" Dorothy thought for a moment before answering. "You're a loving father, but sometimes you're too hard on yourself. You try to be perfect to make up for Jennifer's absence." "And is that bad?" "It's not bad, but sometimes children need to see that adults make mistakes too and learn from them." "Do you think I should be less strict with myself?" "I think you should allow yourself to just be human. The children will love you for your strengths and your mistakes." This conversation marked a turning point in Michael and Dorothy's relationship. They moved beyond an employer-employee dynamic and developed a genuine partnership in raising the children. In the following months, the family's routine grew more harmonious. Michael balanced work and home life better, knowing the children were well cared for by Dorothy. The kids started attending a nearby preschool, and Dorothy was always present at their events and performances. Other parents were a little puzzled at first, unsure of her exact role in the family. "Is Dorothy the nanny or a relative?" one mother asked during a school party. "She's our Dorothy," Emma replied simply, unable to explain further. Michael, who overheard, stepped in. "Dorothy is a very special person to our family. She helps take care of the children." "Oh, I see. A housekeeper." "Not exactly. It's more complicated than that." Michael realized there really was no simple definition for Dorothy's role in their lives. She wasn't just an employee, not a relative, but also not just a nanny. That night, he talked to her about it. "Dorothy, today at school, a mother asked me what exactly your role is in our family. And what did you say?" "I said it was complicated, because it really is." "Why complicated?" "Because you're not just an employee, you're part of the family, but you're also not like an aunt or godmother." "Does that bother you?" "No, on the contrary, I'm grateful. But sometimes people ask questions I don't know how to answer." "Mr. Michael, what matters is that the children are happy and well cared for. Definitions are less important than feelings." "You're right, but Dorothy, I want you to know I consider you part of our family." "Thank you. To me, you all are family too." This conversation strengthened their bond even further. A few months later, something happened that tested this new family dynamic. Michael had to travel for work for a week to upstate California, where his company was implementing an important project. "Dorothy, are you comfortable staying alone with the children for a week?" "Of course, Mr. Michael. We'll be fine. Mrs. Williams will be here during the day, but you'll be in charge of the children. Don't worry." During the week of his trip, Michael called every day to talk to the kids. They seemed calm and happy, telling him about the activities they did with Dorothy. "Daddy, Dorothy took us to the new park and we played on the giant slide," Ethan said. "And she made a picnic in the living room when it was raining," Emma added. "Daddy, when are you coming back? We made a drawing for you," Olivia chimed in. "And I learned a new song on the guitar," Noah finished. Michael felt relieved knowing the children were doing well, even in his absence. However, on the 4th day of his trip, he received a call from Mrs. Williams that worried him. "Mr. Michael, I need to talk to you about a situation here at home." "What happened? Are the children okay?" "The children are fine, but today a man came looking for Dorothy." "What man?" "He said he was her ex-husband. He wanted to talk to her." "And what did Dorothy do?" "She got very nervous, said she didn't want to speak to him, asked me to say she wasn't here." "And he left?" "Yes, but he said he'd come back." Michael grew concerned. Dorothy had never mentioned that her ex-husband was still trying to contact her. "Mrs. Williams, did the children witness this?" "No, sir. Dorothy asked them to stay in their room and play." "All right, I'll talk to her." That evening, Michael called Dorothy. "Dorothy, Mrs. Williams told me about your ex-husband's visit." "I'm sorry, Mr. Michael. I didn't expect him to show up here." "You don't need to apologize, but I'm worried." "Is he dangerous?" "No, sir. He's not violent. He just struggles to accept that we separated." "Does he know where you work?" "He found out somehow. Maybe he followed me." "Dorothy, are you safe?" "Yes. But I'd rather the children not know about this." "I agree. But if he comes back, call the security at the condominium immediately." "All right." Michael felt uneasy about this new situation. He didn't want Dorothy's personal problems to disturb the children's peace. The next day, Dorothy's ex-husband returned. This time, she decided to speak with him briefly at the gate. "Robert, what do you want?" "Dorothy, we need to talk. It's been over a year since we separated, but I can't forget you." "Robert, we've talked about this many times. Our marriage ended when we lost the boys. But we can try again. Start over." "I can't, Robert. I've rebuilt my life." "With this wealthy family? You're fooling yourself if you think you can replace our children with someone else's." Dorothy felt a pang in her chest at his accusation. "That's not how it is, Robert. I love these children, but I know they're not mine." "Then come home. Let's try to have other children." "Robert, you were the one who said you didn't want more kids after what happened." "I changed my mind. But I haven't changed mine. Our marriage is over and there's no going back." Robert visibly bristled. "Dorothy, you're making a mistake. These people will never truly accept you as family." "They already do, Robert. Accept you as the help. When those kids grow up, you'll be let go." "That's not how it works." "Yes, it is. And then you'll be alone, no family, nothing." Dorothy felt a flicker of doubt at his words. "Robert, please leave. I don't want the children to see us arguing." "Fine, but think about what I said. You'll always know where to find me." After the conversation, Dorothy was shaken. Robert's words planted a seed of doubt in her mind about her future in Michael's family. That evening, the children noticed something was off. "Dorothy, are you sad?" Emma asked. "No, sweetheart. Just thinking." "When grown-ups think too much, it means there's a problem," Noah said, ever observant. "Sometimes adults worry about things that aren't important," she replied, deflecting. "Like when Daddy worries about work," Olivia chimed in. "Exactly. But when Daddy's worried, we hug him and he feels better," Ethan said. All 4 children gathered around Dorothy and wrapped her in a group hug. "There, now you'll feel better," Emma declared. Dorothy was moved by their affection, but Robert's words still echoed in her mind. When Michael returned from his trip 2 days later, he immediately sensed something was different. "Dorothy, are you all right?" "I'm fine, Mr. Thompson. How was your trip?" "It was good, but that's not what I want to talk about. You seem troubled." It's nothing important. Does it have to do with your ex-husband's visit? Dorothy sighed. A little. Do you want to talk about it? Mr. Thompson, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you really see me as part of the family, or am I just a well-treated employee? Michael was taken aback. Why would you question that? Robert said some things that made me think. What kind of things? That when the children grow up, you won't need me anymore, and then I'll be alone again. Michael felt a pang of sadness that Dorothy doubted her place in their family. Dorothy, sit with me. They settled on the living room sofa. Dorothy, when Jennifer wrote that letter asking you to care for the children, she wasn't just thinking of the early years. She was thinking of their entire lives. What do you mean? A mother doesn't stop worrying about her children when they grow up. If anything, the challenges just change. But when they're teens, adults, they won't need a nanny anymore. They won't need a nanny, but they'll need someone who loves them unconditionally, someone who knows their stories from the beginning, someone who can guide them from years of shared life. Dorothy began to understand. Dorothy, do you really think I'd let you go when they're older? After everything we've been through? I don't know. I've never thought about it. Then think now. Can you picture your life without these children? I can't. And can they picture life without you? I don't think so. Then why would you think I could? Dorothy's eyes welled up. Dorothy, I want to make you an offer. What kind of offer? I want you to be the children's official godmother. Godmother? Yes. So no matter what happens, you'll always officially be part of the family. But I'm not baptized in the same religion as you. That doesn't matter. What matters is the emotional bond. Dorothy was speechless. Michael, that's so generous, but what? What if someday you remarry? Your new wife might not accept my presence. Dorothy, any woman who wants to be part of this family will have to accept you. Otherwise, she won't be the right person for us. Are you sure about that? Absolutely. At that moment, the 4 children came running into the room. Daddy, we heard you want Dorothy to be our godmother, Emma shouted. Were you eavesdropping on our conversation? Michael asked, pretending to be upset. We weren't eavesdropping. We were waiting for the right moment to come in, said Noah, always quick-witted. And what's your opinion about this? We want it, they all chorused. Will Dorothy be our godmother forever? Olivia asked. Forever, Michael confirmed. The children jumped for joy and hugged Dorothy. Now Dorothy will never leave, Ethan said. Dorothy looked at Michael with tears in her eyes. Thank you. You're the family I never thought I'd have again. A few weeks later, they held a small, informal ceremony where Dorothy was officially introduced as the children's godmother. Rebecca came from New York especially for the occasion, and even Mrs. Williams helped prepare a special lunch. Dorothy, Rebecca said during lunch, when I first met you, I admit I was jealous. I thought you were trying to replace my sister. I never wanted to replace anyone. I know that now. You found your own special place in these children's hearts. And in mine too, Michael added. The children made drawings for Dorothy titled Our Godmother. Ethan drew her singing. Noah drew her teaching guitar. Emma drew her cooking. And Olivia drew her planting flowers. Dorothy, Emma said, now that you're our official godmother, can you teach us about your family's history? What kind of history? You said the song you sing for us comes from your great-grandmother. We want to know more about her. Dorothy smiled. My great-grandmother's name was Hope. She came from Africa when she was very young and worked hard to give her children a better life. Was she as strong as you? Noah asked. She was very strong and very wise. She said music had the power to heal the heart. Is that why you sing for us when we're sad? Olivia asked. Exactly. Dorothy, Ethan said, can you teach us more of your great-grandmother's songs? Of course, and you can teach them to your own children someday. Michael watched the conversation with emotion. Dorothy was creating a bridge between her own family's cultural heritage and the children's upbringing. That night, after the children were asleep, Michael and Dorothy talked in the garden. Dorothy, are you happy with formalizing your role in the family? Very happy. I finally feel like I have a place that's truly mine. And Robert, has he bothered you again? No. I think he's realized I've truly rebuilt my life. Dorothy, can I tell you something? Of course. Since you arrived, I don't feel so overwhelmed by the responsibility of raising 4 children alone. You were never alone. You always had Mrs. Williams, the nannies, your family. But it wasn't the same. With you, I feel like the children truly have a loving maternal figure. And with you, they have a loving and present father. Do you know what Jennifer would say if she could see our family today? What would she say? That everything turned out just right. That the children are being raised with love just as she wanted. I think she'd be proud to see what a wonderful father you've become, and she'd be grateful you accepted her request. They stood in silence for a few minutes, watching the flowers the children had planted weeks earlier. They were already growing and starting to bud. Michael, can I ask if you ever think about remarrying? Sometimes I do. Not out of loneliness, but because I believe it would be good for the kids to have a complete maternal figure. And if that happens, what would my role be? The same as now. You'd still be their special godmother, the one who knows every detail of their story. What if your future wife doesn't like me? Dorothy, any woman who can't appreciate you wouldn't be right for this family. Do you promise? I promise. A few months later, life at the mansion had settled into a perfect rhythm. The children were thriving in school. Michael balanced work and family well, and Dorothy felt completely fulfilled in her role. But one day something unexpected happened. During a birthday party at Emma's school, Michael met Amanda, a pediatrician who had recently moved to town and had a daughter the same age. Michael, you're the father of the Quadruplets. Yes, I am, and you are. Amanda Parker, my daughter Sophie, is in Emma's class. Oh yes. Emma talks about Sophie all the time. Your children are adorable, very well mannered. Thank you, I try my best. Do you raise them alone? I have help from someone very special, our godmother, Dorothy. That's nice. She must be a close relative. Actually, she's not blood related, but she's family in every way that matters. Amanda was curious about this unique family dynamic, but respectfully didn't press further. At later school gatherings, Michael and Amanda talked more and discovered they had a lot in common. She was also a widow, having lost her husband in an accident 2 years earlier. Michael, would you like to get coffee sometime? We could take the kids to play together. That sounds nice. Let me check with Dorothy about the kids' schedules. Dorothy is the godmother you mentioned. That's right, she manages their calendar. The following Saturday, Michael took the children to meet Amanda and Sophie at the park. The 5 kids had a great time together, and Michael got to know Amanda better. Amanda, how do you handle raising Sophie alone? It's not easy. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed trying to be both mother and father. I understand completely. I felt the same way until I met Dorothy. Does she live with you? Yes. She has a room in the house and cares for the kids as if they were her own. And that doesn't feel strange to you. Why would it be strange? I don't know, having someone unrelated so close to your children. Michael sensed judgment in her question. Dorothy isn't just someone unrelated. She was chosen by my late wife to care for them. Oh, I see. So she was an employee you already knew? Not exactly. It's more complicated than that. Michael chose not to elaborate further. In the weeks that followed, Michael and Amanda met a few more times. The children got along well and they were developing a friendship that could grow into something more serious. Dorothy noticed the change in Michael's demeanor and was happy he was opening himself to new possibilities. Mr. Michael, you seem livelier lately. I've been getting to know someone really nice. That's wonderful. What's she like? She's a doctor, has a daughter the same age as the kids. She's smart, kind. And do the children like her? They do, but I haven't introduced you two yet. Why not? I want to be sure it's serious before involving the whole family. That's very sensible. A few weeks later, Michael decided it was time for Amanda to meet Dorothy and see what the family dynamic was really like. Dorothy, I'd like you to meet Amanda. I thought of inviting her for lunch here on Sunday. Of course, Mr. Michael. I'll prepare something special. Dorothy, you don't need to worry about impressing anyone, just be yourself. All right. On Sunday, Amanda arrived with Sophie, who immediately joined the Quadruplets in their games. Michael introduced Dorothy formally. "Amanda, this is Dorothy, our special godmother." "It's a pleasure, Dorothy. Michael talks about you a lot." "The pleasure is mine, Dr. Amanda." During lunch, Amanda carefully observed the interaction between Dorothy and the children. She noticed how naturally they turned to Dorothy to solve small problems, like asking for more juice or complaining that someone was bothering them. "Dorothy," Amanda said, "how long have you been taking care of the children?" "Almost a year and a half." "And what's it like living in the same house? Don't you miss your privacy?" "No, Doctor. This house has become my home too." "I see. And do you have family of your own?" Dorothy hesitated before answering. "I did. I lost my children a few years ago." "Oh, I'm so sorry. And what did you do before working here?" "I worked in a hospital, in pediatrics." "Interesting. Which hospital?" "St. Mary's Medical Center." "I know it well. I've done shifts there." "Which department were you in?" "Maternity." "As a nurse?" "As an assistant." Amanda noticed Dorothy was uncomfortable with the questions, but her professional curiosity led her to continue. "And why did you change fields?" Michael stepped into the conversation. "Amanda, how about we talk about something else?" "Of course, I'm sorry if I was too nosy." After lunch, while the children played in the garden, Michael showed Amanda around the house. "Michael, can I be honest about something?" "Of course." "I found the dynamic between you and Dorothy a bit strange." "Strange how?" "She seems to have a lot of decision-making power over the children, almost as if she were their real mother." "Amanda, Dorothy loves these children as if they were her own. To me, that's a blessing." "But don't you think it's problematic? The children might get confused about who the authority figure is. We've never had issues with that." "Michael, have you thought about what would happen if you remarried? How would your new wife feel having to share the maternal role with Dorothy?" Michael was bothered by the question. Any woman who entered this family would have to accept and respect Dorothy's place. "That's very idealistic, Michael. In practice, it could be very complicated." "Why would it be complicated?" "Because no woman likes sharing the role of mother. It's instinctive." "Amanda, Dorothy isn't sharing anything, she's complementing, giving the children the extra love they need." "Michael, can I suggest something?" "What?" "Maybe it's time you thought about reducing the children's dependence on Dorothy to prepare them for a potential new family setup." Michael grew visibly irritated. "Amanda, the children aren't dependent on Dorothy. They love her, and she loves them. That's different." "All right, let's not argue about this." But the mood grew tense, and Amanda decided to leave earlier than planned. That night, Michael talked to Dorothy about what happened. "Dorothy, were you uncomfortable with Amanda's questions?" "A little. I felt like she was testing me." "Testing how?" "As if she were trying to figure out if I'd be a problem if you two got involved." "And what did you think of that?" "I think it's natural for her to want to understand the family dynamic, but I was concerned about the tone of the questions." "What kind of concern?" "Michael, for the first time since I arrived here, I felt like someone saw me as a threat." "You're not a threat, Dorothy. You're part of the solution." "But what if Dr. Amanda can't accept that?" "Then she's not the right person for us." "Michael, promise me you won't push me away from the children because of any relationship." "Dorothy, how many times do I have to say this? You're part of this family, no matter what happens." A few days later, Amanda called Michael. "Michael, can we talk?" "Of course. About what?" "About Sunday." I think I was too blunt in my remarks. "Amanda, you're entitled to your opinions. But I don't want this to hurt our friendship. It's not hurting it, but I need you to understand that Dorothy isn't negotiable in my life." "Michael, can I explain my concern better?" "Go ahead." "When we first met, you said you were raising the children alone. But now I see there's someone who plays a very strong maternal role. And what's the problem with that? The problem is, if we decide to have a serious relationship, it'll be hard for me to find my place in that dynamic." Michael finally understood the real issue. "Amanda, are you jealous of Dorothy?" It's not jealousy, it's practical. How could I be a mother to those children if they already have a maternal figure? Amanda, they lost their biological mother. Dorothy provides maternal love, but there's always room for more love. Michael, be honest with me. Could you choose between me and Dorothy if you had to? Michael didn't hesitate. It wouldn't be necessary. Because any woman who truly loved me would understand Dorothy's importance to the children. What if I said I can't accept sharing the maternal role? Then, unfortunately, we don't have a future together. Michael, are you putting a housekeeper above a potential romantic relationship? I'm putting my children's well-being above everything, and Dorothy isn't a housekeeper, she's family. Amanda was silent for a few seconds. I understand your position, Michael, but I can't continue a relationship under these conditions. I respect your decision, Amanda. I hope you find someone who can accept this situation. I hope so too. After hanging up, Michael grew thoughtful. For the first time, he wondered if it would really be possible to find a partner who fully accepted Dorothy's role in the family. Dorothy noticed his concern. Michael, did you break up with Dr. Amanda? We did. She couldn't accept you as part of the family. I'm sorry. Don't be. If she couldn't value you, she wasn't the right person for us. But Michael, this might happen with others too. Maybe. Have you thought that maybe I should move out, so you'd have more freedom to rebuild your love life? Michael looked at her in surprise. Dorothy, are you suggesting I choose between you and a potential relationship? I'm suggesting it might be better for everyone if I lived somewhere else. I'd still care for the children, but I wouldn't live here. And why would that be better? Because then your future girlfriend wouldn't feel threatened by my presence. Dorothy, if a woman feels threatened by your love for the children, she doesn't deserve to be part of this family. But Michael, you might end up alone forever because of me. It wouldn't be because of you. It'd be because I haven't found someone who understands what's truly important. And what is that? Sincere love, commitment to the children's well-being, the ability to love without possessiveness or jealousy. Dorothy was moved by Michael's words. Michael, can I confess something? Of course. Sometimes I'm afraid that the children will grow up and won't need me anymore. Why would you be afraid of that? Because they're the reason for my life now. If they don't need me anymore, I don't know what I'll do. Dorothy, do you think a mother stops being important when her children grow up? No. Then why would you? Because I'm not really their mother. Dorothy, you are their mother in every way that matters. You didn't give birth to them, but you're raising them with unconditional love. Thank you for saying that. It's the truth. In the following months, Michael decided to focus entirely on his family without worrying about romantic relationships. The children were growing and developing increasingly distinct personalities. Ethan, at 3 years old, already showed interest in sports and physical activities. Noah preferred books and games that challenged his reasoning. Emma was the most artistic, always drawing and singing. Olivia showed a knack for cooking and gardening. Dorothy encouraged each of these natural inclinations, always in partnership with Michael. Mr. Michael, I think we should enroll Ethan in swimming lessons. Do you think so? He loves water and has so much energy. It could be a healthy way to channel that. And Noah? Noah would be interested in chess lessons. I've seen some ads for specialized classes. And the girls? Emma could take music lessons, and Olivia would love a kid's cooking class. Michael was impressed by Dorothy's precise observations about each child. How do you notice their inclinations so clearly? Because I spend a lot of time watching them, and because I love each one individually, respecting their differences. They enrolled the children in the suggested activities, and all of them adapted very well. The teachers always praised the behavior and development of the quadruplets. Sir and ma'am, said Ethan's swimming teacher, you should be proud. Ethan is such a well-behaved and hard-working child. The teacher had addressed Michael and Dorothy as if they were a couple, naturally assuming she was the children's mother. Actually, I'm his godmother, Dorothy corrected. Oh, I'm sorry, but it's clear how much you care for him. This situation repeated itself many times in different contexts. People naturally assumed Michael and Dorothy were a couple with 4 children. Michael, Dorothy said one evening, Have you noticed how people always think we're married? I have. Does it bother you? It doesn't bother me, but sometimes I don't know how to respond. Why not? Because correcting them always creates an awkward situation. But not correcting them might give the wrong impression. Dorothy, would you mind if we let people think what they want? What do you mean? If we stopped correcting them? If we let them assume we're a traditional family? But we're not a traditional family, aren't we? We live together, raise 4 children together, make important decisions together. What are we missing to be a traditional family? Dorothy thought about the question. A romantic relationship between us. And is that essential? Isn't it? Dorothy, have you ever stopped to think about what we really have? What do you mean? We have companionship, mutual trust, shared goals, respect, affection. We're raising 4 wonderful children together. We take care of each other when we're sick or worried. Yes, that's true. Then maybe we have something deeper than many traditional couples. Michael, what are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything, just observing that our family works very well the way it is. But what about romantic love? Don't you miss it? Honestly, I don't have time to miss it. I'm fulfilled with the life we have. And if you meet someone special, if it's really special, they'll understand and accept our family dynamic. This conversation planted a seed in both their minds. They began to realize they had built something unique and special, something that went beyond traditional definitions of family. A few weeks later, something happened that made them reflect even more on this. Emma came down with a bad flu and had to stay home for a few days. Michael cancelled several important meetings to take care of her, and Dorothy organized the entire schedule of medications and special care. "Daddy, my head hurts," Emma complained. "Dorothy will make a warm compress for you," said Michael. "And will you stay here with me?" "Of course, sweetheart. And Dorothy too?" "Yes, her too." "Good. When I'm sick, I need both of you." "Why both of us?" Michael asked, curious. "Because you make me feel safe, and Dorothy makes me feel loved." "And that's different?" "Yes. You're the daddy who takes care of me, and she's the mommy who cuddles me." Michael and Dorothy exchanged glances. Emma had perfectly defined the complementary roles they played. "Emma," Dorothy said, "you know I'm not your real mommy, right?" "I know. Mommy Jennifer is in heaven, but you're my mommy here on earth. And that doesn't confuse you." "Why would it? We can have 2 mommies, one in heaven and one here." The simplicity of Emma's answer deeply touched both adults. That night, after Emma felt better and all the children were asleep, Michael and Dorothy talked in the garden. "Dorothy, what did you think about what Emma said today? I found it moving and true." "True?" "Yes. I really do play a maternal role in their lives. I don't replace Jennifer, but I complete what she left unfinished." "And how do you feel being called mommy?" "Honored and scared." "Scared why?" "Because it's a huge responsibility. Being a mother means being there forever." "And do you plan to be?" "I do, but sometimes I'm afraid I won't be able to." "Why wouldn't you? What if you get married and your wife doesn't want me to keep being their mommy?" "Dorothy, we've talked about this many times." "I know, but I can't stop worrying." "Then I'll make a proposal that will end this worry." "What proposal?" "How about we legally formalize this family arrangement?" "What do you mean?" "How about we make you the children's second mother officially?" Dorothy was stunned. "Michael, is that even possible?" "I'll consult a lawyer. If it is, you'd have official maternal rights and responsibilities. And what would that change in practice? It would mean no one could ever question your place in these children's lives. Not even a future wife of yours? Not even." Dorothy began to cry. "Why are you crying?" "Because I never imagined I'd get a second chance to be a mother officially." "So do you accept?" "Yes, I do, but are you sure this is what you want?" "Absolutely." The following week, Michael consulted his lawyer about the legal possibility of what he was proposing. "Michael, it's an unusual situation, but not impossible," said Dr. William Johnson, the family's longtime attorney. "How would it work?" "We'd have to file for shared custody. You as the biological father and Dorothy as the adoptive mother. And would the children have to agree? At their age, it would mostly be a formality, but it's important they understand what's happening. What other requirements are there? Dorothy would need to undergo a psychological and social evaluation, and you'd have to prove it's beneficial for the children. That won't be a problem. Michael, may I ask what motivated this decision? The certainty that Dorothy is the best mother these children could have, after Jennifer. And you're not worried about future legal complications? What kind of complications? What if you two have a falling out? What if Dorothy wants to take the children away? Dr. William, Dorothy loves those children more than life itself. She would never do anything to harm them. All right, I'll prepare the documents. When Michael told the children about the proposal, they were overjoyed. Does that mean Dorothy will be our official mom? Asked Noah. That's right. And will she be able to sign our school papers? Asked Olivia. She will. And if we get hurt, can she take us to the doctor? Asked Ethan. She can. And she'll be our mom forever, even if you marry someone else? Asked Emma. Forever. The children hugged Dorothy in a group embrace. Now we'll have a daddy and a mommy again, they cheered happily. The legal process took a few months but was finally approved. Dorothy passed all the necessary evaluations with flying colors, and a family court judge granted the shared custody. On the day of the ruling, the whole family was present at the courthouse, including Rebecca, who had come all the way from New York. Dorothy Wilson, said the judge, do you officially accept maternal responsibility for the children, Ethan, Noah, Emma, and Olivia Thompson? I do, Your Honor. And you, Michael Thompson, do you agree to share legal custody of these children with Dorothy Wilson? I fully agree, Your Honor. Then I hereby formalize the shared custody. The children now have two legal guardians with equal rights and responsibilities. The children clapped in the courtroom, and Dorothy couldn't hold back her tears of joy. Congratulations, Mommy Dorothy, Emma exclaimed. Thank you, sweetheart. Now you're really our mom, said Ethan. I've always been in my heart. Now it's official on paper, too. That evening, they threw a party at home to celebrate the new family structure. Mrs. Williams prepared a special dinner, and even some neighbors were invited. Dorothy, Rebecca said during the party, when I first met you, I'll admit I had my doubts. What kind of doubts? I thought you might be taking advantage of Michael and the children's vulnerability. And now? Now I see you saved this family. You gave these children the motherly love they needed and gave Michael the support he needed to be a good father. Thank you, Rebecca. And most importantly, you honored my sister's wish. Jennifer would be so happy today. Michael watched the celebration with a sense of wholeness he hadn't felt in years. His family was officially complete, and everyone seemed genuinely happy. Dorothy, he said, approaching her, how does it feel to officially be a mother again? It feels fulfilling, like I've found my purpose in life. And you're not afraid of regrets? Why would I be? It's a lifelong responsibility. Michael, when I accepted Jennifer's request, I already knew it was forever. The paperwork just confirmed what my heart had already decided. Dorothy, can I confess something? Of course. Today, seeing our family together, I wondered if maybe Jennifer orchestrated all of this. How so? She met you at the hospital. She saw your motherly potential, made you promise to care for the children, almost as if she knew you'd form the perfect family. Do you believe that? I believe some things in life can't be explained rationally. I believe that too. Dorothy, do you regret any decision you've made since coming here? Not a single one. And you? Me neither. Our family might not be traditional, but it works perfectly. Michael, can I ask you something I've always wondered? Go ahead. Have you ever felt romantically attracted to me? Michael was caught off guard by the direct question. Why do you ask? Because sometimes I feel a very strong connection between us, and I don't know if it's just our partnership in raising the children. Dorothy, what we feel for each other is very special. I don't know if it's romantic love in the traditional sense, but it's definitely love. What kind of love? The love of two people who chose each other to build something beautiful together, the love of life partners. And is that enough for you? It's more than enough, it's perfect. For me, too. At that moment, the children came running over. "Mom, Dorothy, Dad, come see. We drew a picture of our family," Olivia shouted. They followed the children to the table, where there was a large sheet of paper with colorful drawings. "Look," Noah said, pointing at the drawing. "This is Dad, this is Mom, Dorothy, and these are the four of us." "And up here in the sky," Emma added, pointing to a female figure surrounded by clouds, "is Mom, Jennifer, watching over all of us." Michael and Dorothy were moved by the drawing. The children had perfectly captured the family dynamic. Two parents present on earth, and a mother blessing them from heaven. "Is this how you see our family?" Michael asked. "This is how our family is," Ethan replied simply. "And are you happy this way?" "Very happy," they all answered in unison. Dorothy hugged all four children. "I love you more than anything in the world." "And we love you, Mom, Dorothy." Michael watched the scene with a heart full of gratitude. His family had found a unique and special way to be happy. 2 years later, their family dynamic had grown even stronger. The children, now 5 years old, had well-defined personalities and a very healthy relationship with both Michael and Dorothy. Ethan had become an excellent swimmer and was being considered for a youth team. Noah had learned to play chess and was already competing in school tournaments. Emma had developed her voice and sang in the school choir. Olivia had become the family's little chef, always inventing new recipes. "Dorothy," Michael said one morning, "have you noticed how perfectly our lives have come together?" "I have. Everyone has found their place and their role." "And you don't feel like anything's missing?" "Not a thing, and you?" "Me neither." "Michael, sometimes I think about what I'd say if someone asked if we're happy." "What would you say?" "I'd say we built a family based on true love. Not traditional romantic love, but the kind of love that chooses to be present every day." "That's a beautiful definition. And a true one." Just then, a letter arrived that would slightly shift their perspective on the future. "Michael," Dorothy said as she read the correspondence, "it's a letter from the children's school." "About what?" "They're organizing an event on modern families and want our family to participate as an example." "An example of what?" "Of how different family structures can work well." "What do you think?" "I think it would be interesting. We could help others understand that family doesn't have to follow just one model." "Then let's do it." A few weeks later, they stood in the school auditorium in front of an audience of parents and educators sharing their story. "Our family began with a loss," Michael said. "Jennifer's passing left 4 young children in need of a mother's love. And life brought me to them," Dorothy continued. "I had lost my own children and thought I'd never be a mother again. But we discovered that love has no rigid boundaries," Michael said. "A family can be made up of people who choose to love and care for one another. What matters isn't how a family is formed, but the love between its members," Dorothy added. In the audience, many were moved by their testimony. At the end, there was a Q&A session. "How do you explain this family setup to the children?" asked one mother. "Children understand it naturally," Dorothy replied. "To them, family is where there's love, care, and protection." "And how do you handle social prejudices?" someone else asked. "We focus on what truly matters, the children's well-being," Michael said. "Outside opinions don't change the reality of the love we share." "Do you plan to get formally married?" another person asked. Michael and Dorothy exchanged glances. "Our commitment to each other and the children is already formal," Dorothy said. "We don't need a document to validate what we feel." "But don't you miss traditional romance?" "We've found our own kind of romance," Michael replied. "It's the romance of companionship, trust, and mature love." After the event, several people approached them to thank them for their example and ask for advice about their own family situations. "You've given us hope," said a divorced woman. "You've shown that it's possible to build a family in different ways." "Thank you for sharing your story," another person said. "You've proven that love is stronger than social conventions." On the way home, Michael and Dorothy talked about the event's impact. "Dorothy, Did you notice how many people related to our story? I did. It shows there are many non-traditional families seeking social validation. Maybe our family can serve as an example for others. It would be beautiful if we could help other families accept themselves as they are. Dorothy, would you mind if we wrote a book about our experience? A book? Yes, telling our story in more detail. It could help a lot of people. I think it's an interesting idea, but do you have time to write? We could write it together, each sharing our perspective. And would the children participate? If they want to, it'd be nice to have their point of view too. That evening, they discussed the idea with the children. Would you like to help write a book about our family? Michael asked. A real book? Emma asked excitedly. A real one. To help others understand, there are many ways to form a family. And people will read about us? Noah asked. They will, but only if you want them to. I do, Olivia said. I want to tell them we're happy. And I want to talk about Mom Dorothy, Ethan added, how she sings to us and comforts us when we're sad. Then it's settled, Dorothy said. We'll write our book. Over the following months, they dedicated a few hours each week to writing. Michael shared his experience of losing Jennifer and finding in Dorothy a partner to raise their children. Dorothy spoke about losing her own children and discovering a new way of being a mother. The children dictated short passages about their lives and feelings toward their family. What I love most about our family, Emma dictated, is that we have so much love. Dad takes care of us when we're sick, and Mom Dorothy comforts us when we're scared. Our family is different from others, Noah said, but it's better because we chose to be together. I don't remember Mom Jennifer, Olivia added, but I know she's happy because we have Mom Dorothy now. The best part is that Dad and Mom Dorothy never fight, Ethan said. They always talk things through. When the book was finished, they decided to self-publish it, with proceeds going to orphan care organizations. The launch took place at the same school where they had shared their story. Many people attended, including Becky, who had become a strong advocate for their family. This book, said Rebecca during the launch, proves that my sister Jennifer made the right choice in trusting Dorothy. She not only saved these 4 children, but created a family model that can inspire so many others. For us, said Michael, writing this book was a way to organize our thoughts about what family truly means. And we discovered that family is so much more than blood ties or legal documents, added Dorothy. It's a daily choice to love and care. The book was very well received, and they began getting letters from people who connected with the story. Dear Dorothy and Michael, wrote one woman, I'm a widow raising my 3 grandchildren alone. You showed me I don't have to feel inadequate just because our family is different. Thank you for sharing your story, wrote another. I'm a single mother and always worry if my children miss having a father figure. You helped me understand love can come in many forms. These messages confirmed for Michael and Dorothy that they had made the right decision in sharing their experience. Now that they've told their story to the world, how do you think they managed to build such a harmonious family? Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. If you believe true love can overcome any social convention, leave a like and subscribe for more heartwarming stories like this one. The end.